Long before the alphabet, before paper, before the sounds of letters and words could be etched onto a page, there were marks pressed into clay. These marks, simple yet ingenious, would become the foundation for one of humanity's greatest inventions, writing. The story of cuneiform, the world's first writing system, is a story of innovation, civilization, and the enduring human desire to record, communicate, and remember. Around 5,000 years ago, in the land known as Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, people began to build cities, cultivate crops, and develop complex societies. With cities came the need for order. People needed to track crops, manage resources, and keep records of transactions. Oral tradition alone could no longer keep pace with the needs of an expanding society. So, the Sumerians, the ingenious people of southern Mesopotamia, began to experiment with a new way to capture information, by making marks in clay. The earliest cuneiform began not as writing in the way we understand it today, but as pictographs, simple drawings representing objects or ideas. A picture of a sheep meant sheep. A drawing of a jar meant jar. These pictographs were pressed into soft clay tablets using a stylus, often made from a reed. When the clay dried, the record was permanent. It was a truly groundbreaking leap. Ideas and information could outlive the moment, the speaker, even the generation. But as cities grew and life became more complicated, pictographs alone were not enough. The Sumerians needed a faster, more flexible system. Over centuries, the pictographs evolved. The stylus, when pressed at different angles, made wedge-shaped impressions in the clay. These wedges formed patterns, and the patterns became symbols. The Latin word for wedge, cuneus, would eventually give the script its name, cuneiform. Cuneiform symbols were abstract, stylized, and could be combined in almost limitless ways. The script could represent not just objects, but also sounds, syllables, and even abstract ideas. This allowed the Sumerians to record laws, stories, prayers, and contracts. It was the beginning of literature, bureaucracy, and history as we know it. Imagine a bustling Sumerian city with scribes hunched over wooden desks, carefully pressing their styluses into moist clay tablets. Scribes were highly respected, their skills rare and valuable. They were the keepers of knowledge, the ones who could make the invisible visible, the ephemeral eternal. In the archives of temples and palaces, thousands of clay tablets were stored. Records of grain shipments, marriage contracts, hymns to the gods, and epic tales of heroes and kings. One of the earliest and most famous examples of cuneiform writing is the Code of Hammurabi, inscribed around 1754 BCE. This monumental law code, carved into a tall basalt stele, stands as a testament to the power of writing to shape society. The laws were clear, public, and permanent. For the first time, people could refer to written rules, rather than relying solely on memory or the word of authority. Justice could be measured, not just proclaimed. But cuneiform was not static. Over centuries, it evolved and adapted. As the Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, and other peoples rose to power in Mesopotamia, they adopted and adapted cuneiform to their own languages. Scribes developed hundreds of signs, some representing whole words, others representing sounds or syllables. The script became ever more complex, a sophisticated tool for expressing the full range of human thought. Cuneiform's versatility allowed it to cross boundaries. It was used not only for record-keeping and administration, but also for literature, science, and religion. Some of the earliest works of world literature were written in cuneiform, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, a timeless tale of friendship, loss, and the search for meaning. Clay tablets have revealed hymns, proverbs, medical texts, astronomical observations, and even the first recorded jokes. In the libraries of ancient cities like Nineveh and Babylon, vast collections of cuneiform tablets were assembled. The most famous of these libraries belonged to Ashurbanipal, the Assyrian king who ruled in the 7th century BCE. His library at Nineveh contained thousands of tablets, carefully cataloged and preserved. Here, scholars could consult the accumulated wisdom of centuries. Cuneiform was not only a tool of power and administration, but also a bridge between cultures. As empires rose and fell, cuneiform spread across the ancient Near East. It was used in diplomatic correspondence between kings, in treaties and trade agreements, in the transmission of myths and scientific knowledge. For nearly 3,000 years, cuneiform was the script of civilization. But what did cuneiform actually look like? Unlike the flowing curves of later alphabets, cuneiform was angular, geometric, and precise. Each sign was made up of a series of wedges, pressed into the clay at different angles. The stylus allowed for great speed and efficiency. An experienced scribe could write quickly, yet the script remained legible and consistent. Over time, the number of signs grew, reaching over 600 in some periods, though many texts used far fewer. Learning cuneiform was no easy task. Scribes spent years mastering the hundreds of signs, their meanings, and the rules for combining them. They practiced on clay tablets, copying lists of signs, words, and phrases. Scribes became a distinct social class, essential to the functioning of government, religion, and commerce. Clay was the medium of choice for cuneiform, and for good reason. It was abundant, cheap, and durable. Tablets could be dried or baked, making them nearly impervious to time and the elements. Thanks to this durability, thousands of cuneiform tablets have survived to the present day, buried in the ruins of ancient cities, waiting to be discovered. The decipherment of cuneiform is one of the great stories of modern archaeology. For centuries, the script was a mystery, its wedge-shaped marks undeciphered, its secrets locked away. It was not until the 19th century that scholars, working painstakingly from inscriptions found at sites like Behistun, were able to crack the code. The Behistun inscription, carved high on a cliff in western Iran, was the Rosetta Stone of cuneiform. It contained the same text in 3 languages: Old Persian, Elamite, and Akkadian. By comparing the scripts, scholars like Henry Rawlinson were able to unlock the meaning of cuneiform and open a window onto the ancient world. The rediscovery of cuneiform revolutionized our understanding of history. Through the tablets, we learned about the daily lives of ordinary people, their hopes, fears, and ambitions. We learned about kings and empires, wars and treaties, inventions and discoveries. We heard the voices of poets and priests, merchants and craftsmen, mothers and children. The world of ancient Mesopotamia came alive once more. Cuneiform did not last forever. Over time, new scripts and alphabets emerged. The rise of the Phoenician alphabet, and later Greek and Latin, offered simpler, more flexible ways to write. By the 1st century CE, cuneiform had largely disappeared, its secrets forgotten. But its legacy endured. The very idea of writing, of capturing speech and thought in permanent form, had been born in the clay tablets of Mesopotamia and would shape the course of human civilization forever. Today, cuneiform stands as a symbol of human ingenuity, creativity, and perseverance. It reminds us that the desire to communicate, to record, to remember, is as old as civilization itself. It is a testament to the power of writing to transform societies, to preserve knowledge, and to connect us across time and space. The story of cuneiform is not just the story of a script, but the story of us all. It is the story of the first accountants, tracking the flow of goods and grain, the first historians, recording the deeds of kings, the first storytellers, weaving tales of gods and heroes. It is the story of the first laws, the first treaties, the first libraries. It is the story of civilization itself, written in clay, preserved for eternity. As we look back across the millennia, we see in those simple wedge-shaped marks the spark of something extraordinary, a spark that would ignite the flames of literature, science, and art. Cuneiform was the beginning, but it was also a promise that human creativity knows no bounds, and that our desire to remember, to communicate, and to imagine will always find a way. From the bustling streets of ancient Ur to the silent shelves of modern museums, the legacy of cuneiform endures. Its marks may be ancient, but its message is timeless. In every word we write, in every story we tell, we are following in the footsteps of those first Sumerian scribes, pressing meaning into the world, one mark at a time.